This episode of Small Town Famous is brought to you by Regional Hospice Care Group of Louisiana. With 2 locations in Minden and Shreveport, they have a full-time physician on staff to meet the needs of every patient, and they make house calls. For more information, call 318-382-9396 or 318-524-1046. And Billy Bland Fisheries. Bland is located in the small town of Taylor, Arkansas. You can visit them online at blandfishery.com or by phone at 870-694-4811. The name is Bland, but the fish are most certainly not.
Hey, it's comedian Bob Smiley, and you're listening to my favorite podcast. Can you hold the cue card up? Small Town really? That's the name? Small Town Famous.
So we do have Cubby fans. And,
we do. There are a ton in Magnolia. Just a lot. That was before.
There's a lot more than you would have ever thought.
It's really weird.
Cardinals, Cubbies, and then we got the Rangers fans.
We got the Astros fans.
And Braves.
Astros.
You're the only Astros fan around here.
And guess who's kicking butt? Did they win tonight? No, I doubt it. Well, they got beat by the Braves fan.
What? Turn around. And guess who's kicking butt?
We're back. Small Town Famous.
No. More energy. More energy, baby. Welcome, everybody. You're listening.
If this was 94.5.
No. You're listening to the biggest little podcast out there. That's right, Small Town Famous. Yeah, we're coming at you at this very moment
From 94.5.
or our top secret.
They might have
Small
something to say
Town
about that.
We're coming out
They
of the
might have
Batcave.
something to say about that.
How about we introduce our most popular guest yet?
Well, we're getting there.
Jeffrey's back.
Hey, Jeffrey's back.
Yeah.
No, we're now in season 2. Of season 1, we cracked the top 40 comedy podcast on iTunes.
We stayed
In America or in the world?
It was on iTunes. I don't know how far that goes.
America is the world.
What else matters?
You from Arkansas?
We were in the top 20 in South Africa.
We're consistently number 1 in Arkansas.
Right.
Yes.
But this season, we're going to go bigger and better than ever. And how are we going to do that?
Bigger, faster, stronger.
Romy, who do we have here today?
We're getting there. Gosh. We got to do our shout-outs anyway.
Oh.
The Saint Famous, all that good stuff.
How are we going to do that, Ron?
I'm sorry I came up with this format to the show, and then nobody wants to go with it.
What show?
What's up, George? Just take it.
I thought we were playing Xbox. That's what he was
I knew you were about to do that.
Oh,
No,
boy.
because of the listeners, because whoever's listening to this right now is going to share this episode and subscribe to us on iTunes. And then go to Facebook, like
with
us,
iTunes and say
because they got to
check this
go.
down.
Well, they got to go check out the new videos that are up on Facebook.
We got some good
And
ones.
we got a good one up there right now. That's
It's moving.
Yeah.
what's the title of it? Defying Gravity.
Defying Gravity.
Or hashtag Oklahoma.
You hate that. You probably will have. You won't even fly over that stadium.
Man.
I will say that was the most fun I ever had in one spot in my whole life.
Anyway,
That's kind of sad,
Alan,
really.
do you want to introduce?
I do want to introduce our guest
We do have a special guest with us
because I'm
today.
going to tell you that this actually goes back to last year. Me and Jordan, when we were kind of just spitballing ideas about starting the show, we were thinking about. We were really going to try to. You don't remember this because you don't remember much past 2 weeks, but before we were going, we were coming up with logos and we were coming up with all this stuff before we even had a podcast, which we probably should have learned how to podcast first.
Right.
Yeah, that's
But
probably what happened.
We laid the foundation first.
Yep.
But we started naming people.
Who was my first guy? I said
Ric Flair.
no. It was little Jimmy Dickens, but he passed away, so that couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Who was my second person?
Yeah, it was trouble to contact him. Your second one.
Got all these gatekeepers.
the boatman. Your second
Some kind
one.
of Pete. I don't know.
Maravich?
I don't. Just tell me.
Who
I
was
give
the
up.
second?
Mine was Hayden Simpson.
Oh,
Tim
probably
Hawkins.
don't remember.
You're just making up crap.
Yeah, it was Tim Hawkins.
Why?
Why are you sucking up
That
to him
was
now?
before, that was when he liked him.
Yeah.
It's before I went to his concert in Benton.
The quiet beef continues. But no, when me and Jordan were coming up with the concept for the show, we were trying to think of people who actually were small town famous. Mm-hmm. And it could be infamous, famous, just people from a small town who have done things that we'll never do.
Like have a flat
Traveled
stomach.
out. I'm sorry?
What?
But anyway, we made a list of some people.
It's a very short list.
You say that funny, but it really was.
The thing is, we wrote, Hayden Simpson was one of the ones that we wrote down first.
Now, Alan, tell us what old Hayden has accomplished.
I had met Hayden just not too long ago, but I've known his parents for a while. And the thing about Hayden Simpson,
I like I like how you're talking about him like he's not sitting right next to you.
it's not. Well,
Hey,
I was going.
Wait, where'd he come from?
I was going to tell him, come on down. Ruined that surprise.
All right, Hayden, come in.
I don't know if I can live up to that.
You're not supposed to talk yet. We haven't started.
Oklahoma. Oklahoma, I'm done.
Oh, man.
In all seriousness, he's not known to most of our listeners, except for around Chicago. There's probably a few people that remember him.
Probably not for good things, but
Well, we never know. We will find out tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I set up a separate hate mail line. Buddy, you have I guarantee you have fans there. Hayden is very famous around here for sure.
Yeah.
Because this dude was a stud pitcher in high school, stud pitcher at Southern Arkansas University for our good friend Coach Goodhart, who's supposed to be here tonight, but he wasn't able to make it again for the second time. I think he's now avoiding me.
Hey, did he have food poisoning again? Like
Bob Smiley does every time. Hayden was drafted after a stellar career at SAU, our local college here about 20 miles up the road.
And my alma mater.
My alma mater.
It was Southern State College when you were.
It was
Gone.
it's back in the 60s. Oh, never mind. I can say it.
It was Southern
Mark that joke that went well.
which would be a juxtaposition to my position. So anyway, this is a long introduction. I couldn't wait to have Hayden on just to hear the story because there's so much speculation, which you are aware of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A lot of it originated in this room.
Absolutely. Yeah, we made up a lot of the rumors.
That I didn't know.
Well, we did it just so
This is sort of an
I've been
apology.
carrying brass knuckles around this whole time.
Well, we wanted to have a good show. We started a lot of rumors. But, but in any case, I was telling Jordan, we just want to know the real thing.
No,
we
yeah.
want to know the real story so everybody will know straight from the horse's mouth, this is what happened.
This is what happened. This is what didn't happen.
And there was some very good reasons why things didn't pan out like we want to. We want to talk about that. But we're going to have fun because, we're funny.
By golly.
What funniest people I know of.
Would you look at that?
So, without further ado, we have Hayden Simpson.
Hey.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Are we still recording?
We are still recording.
Hey, when did you want to go with Grant?
Grant Shooker.
Grant, I'm all shook up. You want to
Since
do that
it's getting
before?
kind of late because he's on the East Coast, let's go ahead and call Grant.
We can.
Let's start the segment early of Rapid
Let's just
Fire,
do it.
my most favorite segment.
Isn't he the Lone Ranger?
He is the lawn. He should be. He is the lawn.
The
ranger.
Lawn Ranger? Isn't that who Grant is? The original Lawn Ranger?
Lone Ranger or Lawn Ranger?
Lawn.
He has a lawn business, man.
So speakerphone? Yep.
A little bit low, your nose is going to hit.
Hello.
Grant!
What's up?
Hey, man, this is Chase with Small Town Famous.
Grant.
Hey, buddy. Hey,
I'm doing all right. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
Hey, we were calling to see if you wanted to take part in the Rapid Fire segment.
You better believe it.
All right. Let me make sure I'm getting you right here.
Oh, we can hear him good.
All right, Grant. We got a timer ready, and I know you've heard this segment before. 2 minutes. We got 20 questions, and we're going to ask that you refrain from cussing, using anything just derogatory towards Jeffrey, because that's just it never goes well. Very sensitive hearted.
But it's so easy to do.
But no, 2 minutes, 20 questions. Just the first thing that pops in your mind. We're going to try to make them as random as possible. Just tell me when you're ready to go, and we will get started.
All right, ready whenever y'all are.
All right, 2 minutes starts now. It's not unusual for you to what?
Use the bathroom.
What's the grossest thing you've ever touched?
Baby poop.
What's the last thing you measured?
A piece of wood.
What's the last thing you bought for yourself?
Yeah, frat baby.
All right, what seems to only happen to you?
Bad luck stuff.
All right, when no one is watching, you like to what?
Scroll Facebook.
What's the longest you went without bathing?
Probably 3 days.
Sweet. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Don't get a credit card.
What would you consider yourself an expert in?
Absolutely nothing.
What do you feel like doing right now?
Going to bed.
Hey, describe the perfect date in 3 words.
April 25th.
April 25th.
That's pretty good. What should you always say yes to?
Food.
There are 2 types of people in the world. What are they?
Pretty and ugly.
What's the strangest compliment you ever given someone?
Oh, God.
We are out of time now. Hey, man, we appreciate you for taking part. We didn't get through them all, so you're going to have to try again a little bit later, and we'll have some new questions for you. But
Grant, thanks, man, for being on here.
Yeah, man, thank y'all for calling. I appreciate it.
Now, are you the original Lawn Ranger?
I don't know if I'm the original, but I'm the only one from around my part of North Carolina.
Now, what part is that?
I live in Troy. It's about an hour east of Charlotte.
Very nice. How did you hear about Small Town Famous, buddy?
Believe it or not, on Potty Break.
Really?
Love the potty break.
Nice. Are you aware of the quiet beef between Jordan and Tim Hawkins?
I've heard a little bit, yeah. So who has the beef, him or Tim?
I think it all started,
Tim doesn't know that Jordan exists.
I think Tim's a little intimidated. Just to be completely honest.
Well, I think y'all are getting a little more popular.
Hey, we'll let you get back to whatever you do in North Carolina, and we appreciate you for taking part in our rapid fire segment, man.
Hey, man, thank y'all.
Hey, all right. Well, you keep listening. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
All right.
Bye. Typically, we just sit around and shoot the breeze, but when we have a special guest, it's typically for a reason, and we really want to hear your story. We can't wait to hear it because I'm gonna tell you, everybody around Magnolia and all that,
they're excited.
They are excited.
They're excited, and they want to know more because a lot of people don't know the story. And I mean, we're talking with Hayden Simpson, of course, back in 2010, drafted 16th overall. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, my research is correct.
Do y'all know who was the number 1 pick?
Does it matter? Because we got the 16th pick here in front of us.
It was Bryce Harper.
Yep.
Yeah. Bryce Harper. It was Bryce Harper.
That's crazy, man.
Did you want to do the Tanya Harding?
The what?
Is that before his time?
Yeah.
That was back in
that was 94.
Yeah.
I mean,
How old were
just
you in 94?
5.
Yeah. It's been building up since then. What? That was the Olympics in Atlanta.
I'm just wondering. It was the Winter Olympics.
Okay, no, 92 was Atlanta. Never mind. Excuse me.
You were wondering.
Well, I know what you did. I'm wondering whose leg.
Well, it wouldn't help you with it. But you could have beat Bryce Harper down. I know a lot of people want to do that.
Yeah, I could have tried, I guess.
Well, let's back it up even further for 2010 because we don't want to just jump right in the middle of the story.
Take us back to 2006 and 2007, your senior year in high school with the Panthers.
Okay.
And tell us what that was like. When did you really know that you had something special and that you had an ability above other people that could take you pretty far in this?
Honestly, probably it wasn't even then. It was 2009, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Go ahead.
So I'm sorry. That was going to be your freshman year in college.
Yeah.
2008, 2009.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is that the velo thing, pretty much as a pitcher, especially being from a small place like this, velocity. If you don't have the velo, then the scouts aren't going to be there. So that didn't really come along until not the way it was until probably 2009, baseball season 2009, and I played football and everything in high school, but we never worked out. Not really. I mean,
now were you a quarterback?
Yeah,
something? Yeah, that's what I thought.
So the whole weight program and everything it was college until I even started doing any of that. And actually, I credit a lot of the fact that I was able to do what I did because I didn't even start pitching until I was 16.
Oh, wow.
Oh, hey. I would not know. I'd have never thought that.
Yeah, really.
Was this during the gum era or Sal and gum? Okay.
Yeah. So, and I didn't even start pitching until then. So I didn't have any arm trouble. Arm had never hurt. Didn't really have any bad habits. So everything I was doing was pretty much, it was
moldable.
Well, yeah.
Say that?
And I hadn't done one thing enough that I wasn't going to be able to change and do something different.
Yeah.
I'd always had a good arm, but I'd never really pitched a whole lot until high school.
Who taught you mechanics on your pitching? Who taught you how to wind?
Everything that I did, it was a lot natural. It kind of whatever made sense to do to throw harder, I just kind of did. But when I got in college, there's a guy named Wes Johnson. He's actually the head pitching coach at University of Arkansas now. Yeah, he was a GA. That was his first. Yeah, that was his first job in college. Was here. He was a GA for us out at SAU for a fall, and he brought the APP program, which is the athletic pitching program.
So that's when the mechanics started. You learned the science of pitching. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah. Man, there's a whole lot to all of it. It's kind of what he brought was how you tie in like the weightlifting and everything, the way you train into pitching, because everything that I knew from most of the things was pitchers were the unathletic. They were the unathletic guys.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big guy, so I knew that if I was going to throw hard, I had to find different things.
Yeah.
And he did that for me. And the weighted ball program, and I know people feel differently about that, but if you do it the way that I did it and the way that it's supposed to be done, it'll work. A lot of people don't, so they just...
What was different?
Well,
what do you mean by that? Because I want to make sure the tag doesn't do something stupid. I plan on him throwing 100 miles an hour. I don't care if he's 5 foot tall.
You have to, once you start doing it, you have to stay with it.
Okay.
Like, I think that a lot of the reason that it worked for me and it didn't work for even some of the guys that I played with is that, like, when we would go on break, Christmas break or something, I would keep doing it. Of course, I'm also from Magna. There's nothing else to do.
No, it still goes down to work ethic.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. And, I mean, it does. And, you take you take a guy like Bryce Harper, it's not going to matter what he does. He's going to roll out of bed and he's going to be
just a stud.
Harper.
Yeah.
Not going to matter.
He's got to give. But those are 1 in 100 million.
Yep. And also the same token, you can take the average person and no matter what they do, they're never going to achieve greatness in that field.
If they're not physically capable of doing it,
you could have some kind of tools.
Some people don't have the genetics for it.
If your arm won't move that fast,
it's just not going to do it.
There's nothing anybody can do for you to make it go that fast.
Yeah,
so, I mean, what Coach Johnson was really able to do for me was kind of put it all together and to show how my goal was to get drafted and to play professional baseball. And what he did was show that it's not, you can have all the best numbers in the world and you can be on the best team in the world, but what's really going to get attention from those guys is if you show that you have the potential to play with those guys. So what he did for me was with the weight room and the weighted balls. And
did he play professional ball?
No, he didn't.
Where's he from? Anyway,
he's from Little Rock. He's from the Little Rock area. He's a little bitty guy. He's like 5'5", 5'6", bald headed. He's pitching coach at Fayetteville now.
Oh wow!
Yeah. He was at. Let's see. He went from Dallas Baptist, went from UCA to Dallas Baptist to Mississippi State.
Now he's been some good colleges.
Yeah,
good baseball.
Yeah,
colleges.
yeah. So I just bought in. I bought into what he was doing immediately.
when the light bulb went on with that dude, like, okay, if I follow this, I think this guy could get me to where I wanted to be. When did you start seeing the velocity change?
Probably the fall of what would have been my sophomore year. The next year, I guess it would have been fall 08, spring 09.
So you graduated high school throwing
88, 89.
That's still pretty fast.
On a good day, like the best day, like the thing that he really preached the most is that you want your low number, which at that time I guess would have been like 85, 86. I wanted my low number to be 90, which meant I didn't want to throw a fastball under 90. Mm. So if the top one's 95, 96, I wanted my low one to be 90.
Okay.
So.
And your changeup 7-8 miles.
Yeah, well, it just depends. Just depends on the day. It was probably anywhere
83,
from
84. Probably.
Yeah,
a lot of that's technique too, though, right?
Well, the grip does everything there. So
you're trying to find this range, and you've got to get your arm speed up. Is what you're trying to build. That's what you're focusing on, because that's what the scouts are looking for. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. So from the ground up, like how I got to be able to use my legs and everything all together, so that the kinetic energy, the kinetic chain, it can be.
It's just like throwing a punch. You throw a punch with your hips.
Absolutely. You want everything coming out right at the end.
So this is like what Tim Lincecum went through, because he's not a very big guy.
Well, he was who pretty much everything was molded off of.
That's what I thought. Now his dad built his, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think so. Yeah.
And he had to. So they had to take his body and get every ounce of velocity possible.
Yeah,
but you still have to have the fast twitch muscle fibers. You got to have all those.
Yeah, all those things have to be there. But absolutely. It's kind of, and that's one of the things that I enjoy so much about working with kids now is you see all these different body types and everything, and I fell in love with that back when I was playing. Is the training aspect of it, that light bulb moment, where everything kind of clicks. So, and I guess it was probably the fall of my sophomore year when that happened.
So what'd you top out at fall? So let's stay at fall at SAU. What'd you top out at?
Well, it was, I honestly don't remember what it was then, but I know that there's a drill that we would do that we would velo, and it was called turn and burn. And I flashed 101 on it.
Oh man, crap.
I had that video forever, and I don't think I have it anymore, but what that drill said is that if everything lines up perfectly and everything happens the way it's supposed to, that's the hardest that you can possibly throw off the mound. So ever since that happened, I kind of bought into what he was saying.
So it's very scientific what he had going on.
Yeah.
Kind of like Roy Oswalt.
Yeah, absolutely.
SAU's baseball program been building for a little while, so it's. What's it like at this point when you're coming on and you're?
Well, we were still at. Like, the first time SAU had ever been number one in the country in NCAA was my freshman year. And so we were still kind of building the momentum at this point in time. But, I mean, we were on the map. We had, I think Gum had won a GSC championship his first year there in 06. And, I mean, we had been to the regionals every year since then.
Gum had been he was with Goodhart.
Yeah, he played for Goodhart.
That's right.
Yeah. He played on the last team that went to the World Series.
Was he playing with Brian Fowler?
No, he's a little older than.
He's a little older than them. Okay. So Gum's only been coaching for a couple of years at that point.
Yeah. He had only been a head coach in college for 3 years, 3 or 4 years at that point in time.
When the GAC. GSC, I'm sorry. Yeah. And so you are, not Great American Country. That's
a channel on TV.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Nobody's ever heard of that.
Yeah, but not. They've heard of the GAC. So, is that right? GCA. God almighty. Anyway, I'm marking.
You're right. GAC is what they're in now.
Yeah.
That's a Gulf South
Conference. Yeah.
Yeah, GSC. What I said. I think.
You didn't.
I didn't. I know. I said GAC, and I know. I'm so sorry.
He's just being nice, but I won't.
Well, the GAC is what they're in now. The Great American Conference. I never played in that conference. We were in.
Told you.
We were in the GSC.
So take us past sophomore year. That's when you got the fire. I mean, it's every kid's dream to play in the majors.
Yeah.
Right. But you're like, holy crap, I can actually do this. Right.
Well,
so what gave you that idea?
That I never even had that moment until I guess after my junior year, after the season was over. because it just wasn't the kind of, I don't know, the team that we had and the players and the coaches and the way, it just wasn't really individualized. We were all about the team. I mean, obviously we wanted to have as good numbers as we could. That's how you have a good team. But we really, I don't know. It's hard to, it would have been easy. It probably would have been easy for a lot of us, and more than just me, several of us have been selfish and think things like that, but we just didn't.
Probably you and Cannon were
and I can think there's several of us that were, I mean, we were number one. I don't even know. There was a long time there for a while that we were ranked number one in the country. And
that's your sophomore and junior year, number one?
Mm-hmm. But we just, I don't know. And I played with a bunch of guys that were naturally more talented than I was.
What was the first, like hint of, all right, they're looking at me now?
Probably, like for real?
Like for real. Like this is going to turn into something.
The first weekend of my junior year, because Division I hadn't started playing yet. It was just Division II playing. And at our first home weekend series, the first game, there was 37 different scouts there. So every pitch that was thrown, all you could see behind home plate was just radar guns going up.
Good night, kiddos. Love y'all. Y'all say hi to Mr. Hayden and good night to him. All right. Bye, buddy. Love you.
See you, buddy. I like them drawers.
Say thanks, dude. Why don't you give him a dab real quick? That's your signature move. That's
Boom.
it. All right. All right. Good night, Taxter.
Ton of radar guns behind home plate.
Yeah, you can see that on TV.
Yeah.
Was you
like
their
that.
ace at this time? SAU's ace?
Mm-hmm.
Your junior year?
Yeah. And most of sophomore year. But there was a guy that, funny thing, actually, a guy named James Schrader, he got drafted by New York Mets. And his first year here, all he did was play third base. And he hit like 19 home runs or something. But the next year, he came into farm, was like, hey, I can pitch, gets on the mound, he throws 95.
Wow.
So he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Big, broad-shouldered guy. Anyway, he ended up pitching in the first game for a while there, but not that he didn't do well. He did well. He was just, I don't know why he did what he did, but I ended up moving to the game one about halfway through the year.
Yeah.
And, and there was, there was like 9 guys from my team. My junior year, there was like 9 guys that either signed or got drafted to play from SAU, and I think it was the most in any NCAA school in the country.
Wow.
Not just Division II.
I didn't know that.
I think it was Division I.
You were confident when you walked out on that mound, though. They're going to know you were there.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't, then
you wouldn't be in that position.
Yeah.
You got to believe in yourself before anybody else believes
is a big thing.
Well, confidence is like 99%.
Yeah, when you're on that pitcher mound, you got to have confidence.
And the longer you play ball, confidence becomes even more important.
But things can get in your head, and life happens, because we talked about that with Jeffrey. Remember?
We did.
All the battles and demons that he had to fight, and just that some of them spur you on, some of them hurt.
Some can motivate you, and some can. I mean, you don't foresee certain injuries, certain things that happen mentally. I mean, it's just life.
For whatever reason, I started off 24-0. Shouldn't have been. I couldn't tell you how it happened that way, but it did. Just the guys that I played with, if I came out of the game and I should have gotten a loss, I ended up getting no decision because they would come back and win.
I asked him what his motivation was, and he said just not to lose.
So there for a long time.
Just that competitiveness.
For a long time, I went out there because I didn't want for it all to just shatter and then to be like, well, it was fun, but
so how
it's
long
not really what it was.
How long did those scouts stick around? I mean, were they there every home game pretty much? And they've been on the road as well. But
there were several teams that every start that I made that year, they were there.
Wow.
Whether it was home or away. But after that first weekend, like we were talking about, I think it was like 8 or 9 teams. And it wasn't just me. They were talking to a bunch of us.
Sure.
But over at the gym, there's a studio room. And they would be set up at different tables for these different teams, these scouts, and we would just be like, rotate everybody through.
Like speed dating.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
What kind of stuff would they ask you?
Oh God, anything and everything.
Anything trying to throw you off, or
yeah, there was Man, it's been so long ago, I don't remember anything specifically, but
it's around this time I was working at Holiday Inn in Magnolia, and so you see everything.
I learn something new every day about this guy.
I know. I worked.
Did you lose a bet?
It was so
needed
bad.
some money.
That's really what it was. It was around this time, and this guy came. This real important looking guy came in.
He was brand new at the time.
By Sonic. Isn't that Holiday Inn Express?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Okay.
Not the new one.
that's at Hampton or something, isn't it?
Hampton.
Holiday Inn in Magnolia.
That's right beside Cancun.
It's right across from Atwood's, dude.
Right across from Taco Bell.
I know it is, man.
It's been there since like 20
it's been
years.
a while.
Like at least
When
8
you're my
years,
age,
9 years.
10 years ago like that. I know I've stayed there. I just didn't. I keep forgetting how young you are.
Mine
I mean, I'm
stayed
almost
there.
50 years old, and you're
28.
You just got hair, so I got you. I don't think about things like that. I'm sorry.
So anyway, back to what I was saying. I was working at Holiday Inn Express about this time, and
I'm marking that as being a jerk.
I'm sorry. Anyway, no, not really. Anyway, what I was saying was I was working at Holiday Inn, and these important people would come in with all this nice luggage, and I looked at this guy one day. He was checking in, and the Yankees symbol was on his luggage, and I was like,
cool.
And he ended up talking, and he's like, I'm here for Hayden Simpson. And I was like,
wow.
That is awesome. Like,
that's pretty cool.
This dude's
Jordan
immediately
immediately said, "Hey, I'm Hayden Simpson."
No, I know what Jordan probably. I mean,
And then broke into his room and stole most of his luggage.
That is some good luggage, though.
yeah.
That's pretty neat. Are you about to play the jingle?
Anyway, what year did you ever graduate from college? Or
Yeah.
you did graduate.
Yeah. I actually just graduated from college.
Okay.
So you
got drafted
like in spring.
after your junior and senior year.
Yeah.
Then.
Well, I got drafted after my junior year.
Junior year, yeah.
Yeah. And I had changed majors twice. So I had really only completed like 2 semesters of what I needed to graduate.
Yeah.
So luckily in the contract, I had it negotiated they would pay.
Were you ever a marketing major?
No.
Okay. What was your major?
Exercise science.
Cool. Kinesiology, that kind of stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
What I want to know, because none of us will ever know that feeling, obviously. What is it like when, we talked to Jeffrey. Jeffrey had, not that you didn't earn yours. I mean, you worked hard to
24-0.
Yeah. You know, Jeffrey goes to every open tryout. He finally goes to Grambling and shows out. So, just cranking everything over the fence. And he happened, it was his day. It was his day, him and another boy from Shreveport.
With Hayden, this was his year.
Right.
For a couple of years.
For a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a different position. What's that like, knowing, okay, they're watching me, you've talked to them, and you've answered their questions. At what moment was it like, holy crap, I'm going to get drafted. I'm going to make myself eligible for the draft. What was your advice there? I mean, how'd that...
Who did you even talk to about that?
Yeah.
Well, there was different, like, as you get courted by teams and everything, you also get courted by future agents and advisors and different stuff. So there was people, I got boxes of them. Just people sending different, I mean, think of what I can equate it to. It's kind of hard. It's kind of like if you were, crap, I don't really know what to equate it to. It's just kind of weird.
Especially what lottery ticket do you want to buy,
I didn't at first. I really didn't understand what the big deal was because it was easy to stay humble with the people I played with because I was with these guys every day. I saw how good they were. I mean,
they knew the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything.
The reason that I was doing as well as I was because those guys were that good. All I had to do was make sure I did my job, and they were going to do theirs.
Yeah,
right.
So for a very long time, I didn't really even process it that maybe I could do something that a lot of people couldn't.
Like, why me?
Yeah.
I got you.
I'll tell you mine.
Because you felt like you were a unit.
Yeah, we
every
were.
time. Yeah.
And the funny thing is the first loss that I had I threw a no-hitter my sophomore year. First loss came that next weekend. And we got shut out in that loss, but I gave up 2 home runs that we got beat. And they were in the dugout screaming. Doesn't matter what they were screaming, but it was West Florida. And it was funny. And I thought like for a long time, you're not going to ever go undefeated for a career. It's just not going to happen. But you never know. Having not experienced that before, luckily my teammates and everything it only got better from there.
You know, I'll tell you my introduction to Hayden was I wasn't even in SAU at the time. I don't even know what I was doing there. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But no, I was actually at a SAU game, which I never went to. Not the biggest baseball fan anyway, but I was just happened to be there, and Hayden's out there on the mound. I wasn't even really watching the game. Number one team in the nation, I'm sure. Should have. Great pitcher going at it. Wasn't really paying attention. But I did glance over for one split second. He lets the ball go fast as all heck. Guy makes a connection with it, though. Just right back at him. I mean, directly right back. I thought this guy was about to die. I think Hayden's about to lose his something.
Yeah.
But he catches the ball behind his back. And that was
on purpose.
Yeah, I think it was,
I promise you it wasn't on purpose.
but it happened so fast that I was just like, huh.
I remember that game, actually, oddly enough. And we hadn't talked about this before just now. You're just bringing this up.
Oh, I'm glad I did.
But that was
my introduction to you. Because I'd actually seen you play football.
That was my first.
And I wish I hadn't.
That was my first conference start, actually.
Really?
Yeah. And the guy that hit
you
the
saw
ball,
his debut, buddy.
The guy that hit the ball was one of my good friends from Hot Springs Lakeside.
He smoked that thing, and you caught it right behind your
forever.
back. It's crazy because you were like you're still in the follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Does he still hate you for that?
No, probably not. He might. I don't know.
Well, it was crazy. It was fantastic play.
Did y'all win? Y'all win that game?
Yeah, we won.
Yeah,
I didn't stick around long enough to find that out.
Yeah, we won.
It's like
she finally showed up. And got
That's funny.
But it was a play that even now sticks out in my mind because it's like I'd never seen that before. I'd always seen the pitcher, you have to get carted off. Yeah. And but you just reached around and
what happened? I can promise you, I've had some that went by my face in slow motion. I could see the logo on the ball. I missed my face.
That's right in between the lines.
Could you ever swing the bat whenever you was pitching?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean? Like
hit the ball good?
Well, I went to college doing both.
No, like hold a bat while he's pitching at the same time and swing.
He pitched
physically, could you swing
baseball
a bat?
knows what I'm talking about. Nowadays, the American League pitchers don't hit. They got designated hitters, even in
He was planning for going National League. Yeah, all the way.
Well,
he knew.
I went to college doing both.
What was your? You remember what your average was coming out of high school?
No.
In the 400s, it probably had to be.
I think my senior year was like 485 or something,
or 500. Some. Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Wow. Well, high school. But
well, they called me James Bond. Got back to 007. They really did. Yeah, that hurt.
Did you know that you was going to get drafted by the Cubs before they even drafted you, though? Or
not until probably no. No, it didn't.
Not until
take us to the night.
We're built up to it, but I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, let's set the stage, Duke. We'll never know what that's like.
Take us through the day.
You get an agent, or I mean, how
does
that? You did all that
with I had an advisor at the time.
So you did all that.
Yeah, and everything that we had heard up until then was not the first round. We knew it would be probably within the top three. Between probably like the Angels and Tampa Bay and a couple other teams that had cross-checkers come look and different things, because one of my best starts actually was in Tampa at our regional that year, and that was when I guess that was when the Cubs scouting director had saw me play and a couple other teams, but leading up until then, no, the Cubs were not.
They weren't even on your radar.
Well, they were.
Yeah.
They were, but it wasn't like we had a couple teams, like Tampa Bay being one of them and the Angels, that they would come to practice. Like they would come to practices. So they knew kind of that, which eventually leads to the problem that I had later on, that the Cubs anyway, we'll get to that. Yeah. But there were other teams that I had my fingers crossed that would take me before they would. Just so happens, actually, Tampa Bay had the 17th pick when Chicago had the 16th. So
So what was your favorite team growing up? I'm just curious before we get to the draft.
Braves.
The Braves?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ironic.
It's a good.
That is.
Who was your favorite baseball player?
Chipper Jones.
Chipper Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Who was your favorite pitcher?
Ironic. Jeffrey, you know Jeffrey Orr?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to try to be your line again. He couldn't work it out. He roomed with Chipper Jones.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I sent you a link if you get a chance to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said Chipper Jones' book. If you get a chance to listen to the episode, he tells some pretty funny stories from training camp. Well, training camp. I'm thinking of the
Spring training.
Yeah, but from spring training where he took batting practice with Deion Sanders, and Deion Sanders is just like the guy off of Major League that hit
Willie Mays Hayes.
Willie Mays Hayes. He got the ball straight up, but he was there to run. And the Dominican that challenged him to race, and he said that Deion had this gold necklace about 6 inches long.
Oh yeah.
And he said that when he was running, it was flapping behind him. So you thought you were going to end up somewhere. Your agent told you on third, second, third, fourth rounds.
Yeah.
Right there.
From what he knew.
Yeah.
Like, that's never really. Teams like to keep the cards close to the chest because if too much gets out, then teams know that maybe they have to take a guy earlier,
right?
Because the other team may so.
Right. Yeah, because there's stuff going on behind us. They're sliding down,
absolutely,
making trades.
Now the day comes, and what kind of walk us through that day?
Yeah, and the night. Walk us through the night before as well. I'm just interested in the whole thing because that's got to be a family event.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it wasn't as big as you would probably think because we weren't really because back then the first round was just on the first day.
Yeah.
So
you kind of weren't expecting it.
No, and I had talked to my advisor a little bit, and he said, if it's going to happen in the first round, it's going to be with the Cubs at this pick. So I had a couple of buddies at the time that were Cubs fans, so I just texted them and said, you don't have to really pay attention, but if it's going to happen, it's going to be with the Cubs. So I had a couple friends at the house too. They wanted to make an event out of it, so they were there. So it was me and my dad, my mom, my little brother, his girlfriend, my girlfriend at the time, and 3 friends that were there, and that was it. We had it pulled up on a laptop, just on a chair like I'm sitting in.
Yeah, just watch over a laptop.
Yeah, and it can't. I don't know.
All right, the 15th pick comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that?
I don't really remember.
It's irrelevant. 16th pick comes in.
Yeah.
What happens?
Bud Selig walks out there. Everybody gets quiet, and he says it. And by the time my first name comes out of his mouth, I didn't hear anything else. Couldn't hear anything else because my buddies were screaming.
But you had to freak. Did you go into shock a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
Did you even describe that feeling?
No.
Man.
No.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
But Jeffrey threw up. He kept telling me he got threw up to being
pulled over on the side of the road
and started throwing up, which he did that a lot. But so it just he said it was undescribable himself. Yeah, that's what he was saying.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's indescribable. It's hard to even put into words. Yeah. We
have one of our listeners had some questions for. He's a Cubbies fan.
He asked if he could get tickets. That was the question. I had to put him in his place.
Did you sleep at all that night?
Probably. No, wait, what night?
The night you got drafted.
No, probably not. Probably not too much.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't remember.
Did your phone immediately blow up?
Oh, my God. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, you weren't expecting it. Your friends weren't expecting it really either, right?
It wasn't long after that. When did Magnolia actually declared a Hayden Simpson Day.
Did they really?
I swear they did. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they did.
I didn't hear about that.
I may have been living in Magnolia when that happened.
Well, how long did it take for the news to spread?
Immediately.
Yeah.
Immediately.
This wasn't before Facebook.
It was.
That's true.
Southern State College.
No, I'm not that freaking old, dude.
It was pretty quick. It was ridiculous. I had people stopping by at the house. It was pretty crazy.
Did people come out of the woodwork?
Hey man, remember we went to kindergarten together? We were best friends. Remember that?
That was probably
that still happens.
Does it really?
People just want to say, "Oh man, I know Hayden. Yeah, we're buds." When you bought somebody's Coke at McDonald's when you're in 8th grade or something.
Everybody knew you, didn't it?
Yeah. You
went to kindergarten with him 2 semesters.
Yeah,
maybe 3.
Getting drafted like that, it's never really just a one person thing. I mean, there's so many different people going back so long that have a part to do with it and have their hand in it. And I've talked about my teammates several times. Who knows? I don't know if I would even have gotten the opportunity if I hadn't have played with some of the guys that I played with.
Because you didn't throw. I'm sorry, you didn't throw 24 no hitters. I mean,
no.
I mean, they had to back you up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I played with 2 of the best catchers that probably SAU's ever had.
Yeah,
both of them got drafted.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Now, after you get drafted 16th overall, first round Chicago Cubs, when did the Cubs actually reach out to you and say, "Hey, when did those next steps come out? I mean, was it immediate?
A minute and a half afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who called you?
It
was the scout that called. Well, no, it wasn't. It was
Lou Piniella.
No, I did meet Lou Piniella, but I don't remember much about that. But it was either the scout that had been, or I think it may have been Tim Wilkins, who was the scouting director at the time. I think that may have been who it was. But I mean, within 15 minutes of it happening, I was doing interviews with Chicago newspapers and all kinds of crap.
Did the Tribune, did they reach out?
Yeah.
So,
it was weird. It's hard to explain.
What he's getting at is if STF was around at that time, he would have said all this for us first.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we should not be around.
Would you have given us the scoop?
I got it.
For sure. Yeah.
What about a ticket?
I can tell that's what he's getting at.
Yeah.
But we would have wanted to.
Absolutely.
Third baseline?
Seats in the dugout.
Oh, okay.
I may have actually watched more than one pitch.
Earl Gill just sent me and you our media credentials for the Super Bowl. The application for the media credentials.
Sweet.
Since we're a podcast, we are considered media.
Awesome. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
But we got to afford a plane ticket to Minnesota, so we have to do a fundraiser.
That
reminds me of Patreon.
Me.
Some things are going to just be burnt in your memory, and it's to me. Okay, they call you Cell, or call you, all right. No fancy cell phones back then.
Oh my God!
Was it a brick phone?
Did you have a ringback tone back then?
Maybe, I don't remember.
Do you remember what he said? Because you had to be intently listening to this, surely.
Honestly, I don't remember because it was still. I really don't. It was kind of all I knew is that
everything's still ringing.
All I knew is
that's
that
what
it
like
happened.
in shock.
Yeah, you're still in shock.
Yeah, so I honestly don't remember what he said.
What'd your parents say? Were your parents there with you in uniform?
All I remember is my mom freaking out and screaming, and my dad screaming at everybody else to shut up because he couldn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah.
That's true. I remember that. They said because they said I was a left-handed pitcher from Central Arkansas. So it started off.
So it already
it started off.
No clue.
No, they didn't. And the Cubs thought it was funny that the people doing the draft weren't prepared for that.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the story.
And that's where Alan's been trying to get at for a year now.
Yeah. I really want to dig into that, because I can't really talk about it, but I know your parents, and you know how I know your parents. Mm-hmm. So I know some of the behind the story.
Yeah.
I want your take, and that's what our listeners want, because we do have Cubby fans. And
we do. There are a ton in Magnolia, actually.
Just
a lot. And that was before even.
Yeah, there's a lot more than you would have ever thought.
It's really weird.
Cardinals, Cubbies, and then we got the Rangers fans.
We got the Astros fans.
And Braves.
Astros.
You're the only Astros fan around here.
And guess who's kicking butt?
Did they win tonight?
No, I doubt it. Well, they got beat by the Braves.
What? Turn around. And guess who's kicking butt? They win tonight?
They were up.
They never win.
They may have won.
They're like the Cowboys.
But they was up 2-1. They was up 2-1 on the Yankees. They may have won.
They were up 4-0, and then
we
Judge
won.
hit a home. Well, they were coming back. They tied the game.
I want to hit Judge in the mouth.
I'll find it for you.
But he's got a big old teeth. I'm gonna hit him. He's got a big old teeth. That sucker, his mama bred with Mr. Ed.
What a big teeth you have.
You want to mark that?
It's that one.
No, we're not marking saying that.
We want people to hear that.
What big teeth we have.
Yankees beat the Astros.
That's a big boy.
Huh?
Did they really? It was
6-4, tied up 2-2. They're going to.
Oh my God.
It's always funnier for Jeffrey. We have to help out.
Oh, yeah.
You're getting around, you're meeting the organization, everything like that. Kind of describe that to us as well.
Well, they flew us. First of all, let me back up because the whole story with being
there's a long
sick.
gap.
Yeah, there was a big skip.
See, this is what our listeners aren't. They're not going to understand
The whole
because they don't
story
know.
with the mono started back during the SAU season.
Yeah,
so that goes back even that far.
Take us through everything that happened to you till where you felt like, oh crap, this is coming to an end.
Well, see, I'd never been hurt, never been sick. I'd never even had the flu before. Never been sick, never missed anything. So about, it was probably middle of April, my junior year, I just started feeling like crap for no reason. I didn't know why. Now, I played through it and everything else, but I was struggling to do it. Like, I quit going to class. I was sitting in class sweating. And there was nothing, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Well, anyway, so I think that was the first bout with the mono and everything, and I'd gotten over it. But about the time, actually, it was in Chicago. They flew us up to Chicago.
It's you and your dad, right?
No, it was my whole family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they flew mom, dad, little brother. They flew us all up there. So we were there the first day, signed the contract and everything.
They do a physical at all?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they did. They did a physical and passed all that.
Okay.
Among the 150 drug tests that I had taken from the time my junior year started till all the way through playing pro ball, I got drug tested at least 200 times. Because they drug test the top 200 prospects, I think 2 or 3 times throughout the college season. These people would show up at my house. Just the most
just unannounced
with a cup.
No, they would call and say, "Yeah, with a cup," and they would say, "Drop them," and I'm gonna stand here and watch you pee in this cup.
And these are for PEDs too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it was for.
Oh, so
yeah.
no, like
It was for I don't know,
just stuff like that.
It was for it was for
PED
everything.
is Romy's line.
Okay.
He's got a T-shirt #PED. He says it every episode.
Just say it right now.
Say PED.
PD.
Okay. Feel better.
When we got in Chicago, the second day we showed up. They took us to the ballpark. I threw a bullpen at Wrigley on the field. Got dressed, went and sat in the stands. Was sitting there for about 2 or 3 innings. Started feeling bad, so I went and saw the team doctor in the clubhouse. Right.
So you walk in and he's going, "Oh, this quick? This is not looking good."
He might have been thinking it. He didn't say it, but he might have been thinking. It's like, I just feel like crap.
Well, maybe the kid just has the flu or something.
So he gave me some antibiotics for it. And I took the antibiotics, went back, sat in the stands. 2 innings later, I'm throwing up. I'm throwing up. So I found out that I was allergic to what he gave me.
Oh, wow. Crap. Okay.
So
that helps.
We end up leaving the game early, going back to the hotel. We're eating with a bunch of the team. I don't remember who they are. I don't remember their names. But it was a bunch of the higher-ups with the organization, different things like that. I had to leave the dinner about 20 minutes into the dinner with these people. I physically could not sit there any longer.
Wow.
That's how terrible I felt. Went back to the hotel room, and for the rest of the trip that we were there, my parents, and it's funny because I was looking through pictures the other day for the Hall of Fame banquet and stuff that's this weekend. Mm-hmm. They wanted recent pictures. There's no pictures of me from that whole trip with them. Yeah. 'Cause I was in the hotel room sick that whole time.
But are they on Facebook?
Maybe.
Because I'd rifled through. I stalk you on Facebook, and I'd rifle through, and there's not a ton of you at that little time. But
yeah,
it looks like right after college, up to your signing, you throw in some. You probably saw what I put on Facebook, but then there's some with your family and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, were you sick during some of those?
Well, They wanted me to stay in Chicago until I started feeling better. But there was no point in doing that. I thought it would just be quick. I would go back home, start feeling better, and I'd go out and play. Well, the doctor said when I was there, that if I kept feeling bad, he wanted me to go get tested for mono, wanted me to go get the MRIs and everything. Mm-hmm. Kept feeling worse. Went to the doctor, and my spleen was 6 times larger than it was supposed to be.
Wow. Okay.
So from right then, they knew it was mono. Yeah. There's nothing you can do for that.
Right.
What they were afraid of is that it was a relapse. And if it was a relapse, it was going to last longer and be worse, which goes back to me being sick the first time.
Mm. Yeah.
That's what we assumed it was a relapse from it. So there's nothing you can do from it. Now, me being stubborn and being from South Arkansas,
I was about to ask
you can't tell me that I'm going to sit on my butt and not do nothing.
A very related question. You're sitting there saying you're having dinner with Chicago Cubs higher-ups. You're in Chicago. You're from South Arkansas.
Yeah, I'm from Magnolia.
Is that culture shock for them? I mean, when you get up there, because they're meeting people from all over anyway, but South Arkansas is,
yeah,
I mean, that's
probably not so much for them. It kind of was for all of us.
Yeah.
At the time. And it wasn't for me. I mean, I'm not really. They're the ones that picked me to play.
Right.
And that's
a good point.
That was the contrast I was going to draw with him and Jeffrey's the fact that Jeffrey, to him, is this dream that he knew had a time clock. Mm-hmm. And he's coming out his junior year of college. And that's what I was wondering, that confidence level of that they picked. He was 23.
He was 23. He was a little bit older, and he knew. Yeah.
And they picked, and you got to think, they picked me first.
Yeah.
So that's got to be a whole different level of these guys that normally wouldn't make me crap my pants. They picked me.
Yeah.
So they saw something in you that even you didn't really see yet, possibly.
Well, I should have been thinking that way at the time, but I wasn't.
Yeah. So you're intimidated? Or,
no, I was thinking more. I was
what?
thinking more of these people picked me to play baseball, and they're going to pay me to do it. That's what I should do. That's what I should be trying to do. I should be doing everything I can to be playing. And that whole summer, when the rest of the draft class was going out to play, I wasn't there, and everything you would read would be like, "Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?" Well, I wanted to be there. I can promise you that.
So you were sick and down that whole summer.
Yeah. Well, I had mono from June 16th or something till Thanksgiving of that year.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't get cleared till Thanksgiving of that year.
So what type of heat were you taking in the media? What was the?
It was well.
What sticks out in your mind?
The picture that has. Okay, I know the picture. Let me think. It's the SAU background in the background, and it's the picture that's like a cutout, but it's just a big question mark. You can't see my face or anything. It's just question mark.
I've not seen that.
Yeah, that one. That's the one that sticks out. And the funny thing is, I don't know what these people were thinking. Like, you think that I don't want to be there? You've lost your mind. Give me a break.
Man, that's sorry.
But I couldn't. They literally wouldn't let me go. They wouldn't let me do anything. And me being stubborn, instead of just sitting down and not doing anything, thinking I'll get healthy, go back to spring training, I kept trying to work out. Eventually, not right away, but after a little bit of time, I started trying to work out, doing something to. Turns out that was probably the worst thing I could have done.
They were obviously keeping in contact with you that whole summer.
The whole time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It was all the time. It was all the time.
Making this investment. They got it.
So, I mean.
Did they give you any kind of advisor, like, you don't need to do any kind of physical activity? Did they give you any kind of wisdom like that? Or
it's funny because it's kind of yes and no. It was kind of, you talk to one person, they're like, well, we got faith in you. We don't want you to do anything to hurt yourself coming back. And then somebody else calls on the phone, and they make you feel like that you're letting them down by not already being there.
Right.
It's like,
and there's where the mental struggle is, and that's where Jeffrey kind of helped to eliminate that is the stuff that goes on in between the ears. And this guy's physically sick, but now the mental toll's got to take because he's feel like he's letting people down.
The mental toll was worse than the physical.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting from.
You start messing with the confidence
that you said is 99% key.
That's one thing that once you start losing it, can't really ever get that back where it was.
So November comes around and you get cleared.
Yeah.
What happens?
I go out to where their spring training place is in Mesa, Arizona, to where they usually have a fall camp, like where their top prospects go and they stay and they work out there all year. So I go out there and I stay there for a week, and I was there and everything went fine. I mean, obviously I'm not where I want to be. where I would like to be at the time, but everything's fine. At this point in time, I'm still thinking that they still have all the confidence in the world. I'm going to come back and be fine. So I come back in spring training, and obviously my velo is not where it was when they drafted me. I just had mono for 6.5 months, but to me, it was fine. I was not up to 92, which at the time during spring training, nobody's velo is what it's going to be so I'm fine with it. Well, that was they started trying to change everything in the world. And
they started messing with your mechanics.
Everything.
And
mechanics,
your contract. But now, and I know now, and learning that lesson from you, but there's some other agents that know that they can put that in their contract. Like Lincecum had that in his contract. You cannot mess with my son's mechanics.
Trevor Bauer did too. But see, I had changed agents too, from the guy that saw me play in college that I signed with to the guy that I was with now.
Okay.
That was probably mistake number one right there on my part.
What spawned the change? Somebody talk you into it?
Well, the company he was with, he had the guy that I left he was suspended by the MLB from working.
Oh, wow.
Because he left the company he was with and didn't tell them he was leaving. Didn't
pulled a Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, so it honestly
didn't even give him a sorry for your loss card.
It's
it's me in 2 weeks. Didn't even do it.
So he let, and you weren't aware. Were you aware of the trouble with him and his own company?
Not at the time. After the fact, yeah.
So after that, I knew there was some funny business, and I read an article somewhere, and there was some funny business around that whole with him, the draft, and all that. There was something screwy.
He was trying. I think he was trying to go to this new company, which maybe it'll come to me in a minute. I know the name of the company. It's just not clicking right now. But he was trying to leave these people and go to these people and bring everybody from this class that he had just drafted with him over here.
Bringing his money
and some of his other clients that he had.
Yeah.
Well, what I should have done is just stayed with him and just moved companies. Because this is the guy that when push comes to shove and you need somebody on the phone saying stop messing with him.
Yeah.
He would have done it, I guess.
He's seen me.
Yeah. He saw you at your best.
He saw me at my best. He was there for all of it.
Yeah.
And the guy I was with wasn't. All he's going by is what I'm telling him.
Yeah.
So.
And he's just looking at dollar signs, potentially.
Much, yeah. He's not doing a freaking thing. I can promise you that.
Was he trying to, was he in your ear saying you need to get well? You need to get the new guy.
Well, yeah. Well,
so,
he was and he wasn't. He was the guy that I'm talking about had Cliff Lee. Y'all know the Cliff Lee pitcher for
the Phillies.
For the Phillies and the Rangers, and that was his big client.
He won a World Series with the Phillies.
Yeah, he had several of those guys. So he had several of those guys. So he wasn't too worried about what was going on lower because those are the guys that are making him his money. So who knows if he was really, I don't know how much he actually did or how much he didn't do.
Gotcha.
But,
so your other, and this is the second agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Cliff Lee, wasn't he from the Razorbacks too?
Yeah. Yeah. He's from Benton, Bryant.
So your first agent, he whatever happened to him?
I don't know.
Any idea? Yeah. Did you ever try to talk to him again?
Mm-mm. No, he showed up at the house after he left, and I told him that I was going to go with somebody new. He showed up at the house, talked for a little while, and finally told him to leave.
Yeah.
But never heard from him after that.
So they're working on the mechanics. Everything's
they're changing.
They're changing it. And do you feel kind of a loss of? I mean, you're coming off a sickness for 6 months.
Yeah,
I mean, physically, you're not.
You got to remember where I come from too. Everybody that works with you and that coaches you has your best interest in mind.
Yeah.
Well, now you're in a world where everybody that's working with you has their best interest in mind. Yeah. They're trying to get to where you're trying to go to. And if you fail, next year is a whole new draft.
And this is spring
Turnover
training.
rates big time.
This is spring training right now of 2013.
Well, this is 2011.
2011.
Yeah, he's drafted in 2010.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was so. I mean, it was. I remember the day. The day before I got called into the office, and they were talking to me saying, "Velo looks good, this and that." I'm like, well, good. I'm on the right track. The next day, threw a bullpen, and from here, where I'm standing here, the way y'all are sitting right here, that's how many coaches were around saying something different.
Oh, heck.
Saying something different. This is why you can't do this. This is why you can't do that. This is stuff that I had always done.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to listen to everybody.
And 92 is fast as you got.
Yeah, then.
Yeah.
I mean, I eventually got back up, but you had to build your weight back up, and you had to get back on that route. Did you go back to your routine that you followed at SAU? I tried, but I say I tried, but I didn't at the same time because remember I was thinking that everybody that was going to be talking to me was going to be giving me something that's going to help.
Yeah,
right. But I mean, it turns out it wasn't that way. I should have just not listened to any of it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is your numbers on the field at that level.
Yeah.
And you can say all you want, like, this was happening. Nobody believes it. Yeah. And they shouldn't. I mean, why should they? But.
Well, it's because the story is, it's not as entertaining as mono, right? And that's the deal. And that's what I wanted people to hear.
Right.
And a matter of fact, because me and Jordan, when we started laying out all of our guests, I named this episode how mono changed the draft of the first round draft of the Chicago Cubs in the 2000 whatever. And it was the stories about mono. Yeah. If you would have never encountered mono, who knows?
It hadn't even gotten into the entertaining part of it yet.
Right.
So
and that's where Alan I know was itching to get to here, because I this is me from an outside perspective, because again I saw you throw one pitch in college. I'd always heard about you. I even celebrated Hayden Simpson Day in Magnolia.
We still do.
I set off I don't know how many fireworks.
Oh my
I mean, it was amazing. I mean,
we got Jeffrey's house for a barbecue.
I got your face printed on shirts. I passed them out. It was amazing. Parade.
I got a tat.
Yeah, he's got a tat. It looks a little smudged.
Yeah, they're stupid.
It's 20 years ago.
But no, it wasn't. Quit saying you're older than you are. But anyway, outside perspective, I always heard it was the mono thing. It was what's he doing back, or what happened, or is he training, is he playing? It was no, he's sick. He's sick. Okay, I got that, and that's as far as I think a lot of people ever got was okay. I guess he just got sick.
Well,
and then Alan says, well, there's more to it, and this is the opportunity that we were kind of waiting on.
So they send me out to Peoria, Illinois, which is Midwest League. And I start the first game for him out there. I think I struck out 8 or 9 in my first outing there.
Still not 100%.
Well, this is before I let them completely get to my head.
Okay.
So I struck out 9 in this game, and my velo, I'm up to 94.
Oh.
Well, that's not good enough.
Okay.
Still working up.
Is this single A?
Yeah. And so I started getting these calls from, mind you, at the same time, this was one of the worst teams in all of baseball. Farm system's terrible. Everything. Should have been the best situation in the world had what happened not ever happened. It just would have moved right on through. But as it turns out, you got a bunch of people trying to save their jobs. And the way you save your job in that business is you throw somebody else under the bus if you think it's going to help you save your job.
Yeah, you gotta step on a few backs to get your way up to the top.
Well, you got people like the minor league coordinator. I won't say his name, but he would call all the time. And the only thing he would say most of the time when he called was, we don't care what your numbers are. We don't care what your numbers are. We don't care if you walk everybody in the world. We want your velocity to come back. And that happened at least 10 times that I can even recall, and it probably happened more. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking that that's what that means. They don't care. So I stopped getting away from pitching, stopped throwing my slider at all because they told me I couldn't throw it no more. They pretty much get handcuffed into only throwing fastballs every single pitch.
As hard as you can. I mean,
as hard as I can.
Placing them.
But still, you're playing. I mean, what are you doing? You're playing. The other guys you're playing are professionals too.
You're throwing batting practice.
I'm just pretty much. Yeah, that's what it came down
to.
They
cracked it,
and so my numbers became terrible. They're still saying.
Don't worry about the numbers.
We don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Looking at the radar and seeing what's going on. Right?
And it got to.
Now, what is your, honest opinion on why they were doing that? Well, handcuffing you to that point. Is it just about?
I don't know if. Well, I think it goes back to. I think it was a bunch of people trying to save their jobs. I think it was if they thought that if this would. Who really knows? Okay. I really don't know. But they were changing my mechanics. They were changing the way I did everything with my arm, everything, to where it hurt. Literally, it hurt to start the car. When I would get in the car to leave the ballpark every night, I'd have to start with my left hand. That's how bad it hurt.
Now, did you call your agent and say, hey, look, dude?
I called him all the time.
What did he say about that? I mean, I can't crank the freaking car.
I'll talk to him.
Never
So I
talk
got
to him.
MRIs at the end of the year, and I'm thinking it's my shoulder because I've never had shoulder problems before, ever.
Yeah.
And got MRI shoulder and elbow. And shoulder, they said the shoulder thing was fine. It was just a bunch of micro tears, nothing out of the ordinary. But they were like, but you're going to have Tommy John because your UCL's torn. I said, no, my UCL's not torn.
Never hurt your arm in your life.
No, my UCL's not torn. I would know the difference in that. I go get a second opinion with Dr. Andrews, and I have a 3-inch long stress fracture in my elbow, in this bone. The main bone in your elbow.
From what?
From them changing how he threw it. But
from pushing through it. I guess, I don't know. What I should have done is said, hey, it hurts. I'm not going to do anything else. That's not the way I was raised. That's not where you could,
and you
throw through it.
Because they got 50 other guys that they replace you with, right?
I could have. That's what guys do in pro ball. If they're not going to go out and be at their absolute best, they just don't go out and play. Because if you don't go out and play, nobody can say, well, you can't do it. You can't play. You're not.
Right.
But if you go out there and after the fact, you say you hurt, it looks like an excuse.
Gotcha.
So what are you supposed to do? I mean.
Yeah. But all this
and I didn't have anybody telling me that. I didn't have anybody to give me that advice.
And I know I don't want to skip too far ahead, but knowing just up to the point you're at now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing what you know today, what would you have done different up to that from the night of from the day of the draft up to Arizona? What would you have done different? So
the only thing that I would have done different was as soon as it started hurting to throw. Period. Yeah. I would have said something. That would have been it. I would have sat on my butt till my arm stopped hurting.
Yeah.
And it eventually stopped hurting. The last spring training I was in, I was back up to 96, but it just didn't matter.
Yeah. How old are you?
Didn't matter.
How old are you right now?
28.
Okay. So, all right. So after Arizona, what were your final numbers in Arizona? Do you remember?
No.
Numbers didn't matter.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Because they told you.
They
told you it didn't matter, but it was an awful good excuse that they could use against you if they wanted to.
Right. They were just basically building the case against him because, hey, we're going to throw this guy on the bus.
To save their own job.
Because I got to save my job.
And you had an agent that didn't care.
Because they were going to blame everything on the scouting director so that this minor league coordinator could keep his job.
Right.
So, well, it's not my fault. It's the guys they're giving me.
So it's the low guy on the totem pole and the player.
Pretty much, yeah.
So you end up getting thrown on the bus because they're actually leading you on a path of destruction.
Yeah.
No, because they knew you didn't know it. You're a country bumpkin.
Eventually, I figured it out.
Yeah.
But at that point in time,
like you said, everybody's out for their own interests. You're a young guy. You're the first round draft pick. You think, hey, these guys are they're looking out for me. They want to take care of this. Is an investment of theirs.
But something interesting though, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you had not spent many nights away from Magnolia, Arkansas, had you? You was pretty much kind of a homeboy, right?
No, yeah, but that never mattered. No, not at all.
No. And I wasn't thinking like you were homesick. No, I don't think that at all. That's not what I'm saying. Is that when you get into certain organizations like this where you learn that
a little more ruthless than the Magnolia.
When you get to the that's right. So that's what I meant. The ruthlessness
than small town Arkansas.
That's fair. That's fair.
Your old country guys like we can get over on you in a second. You learned it the hard way.
I had to learn it the hard way, but I learned it real quick.
Yeah.
It just took probably a little bit longer than I needed it to.
So what was after Mesa? It was Mesa, right?
Yeah.
What happened after Mesa? When was the season over there? What was your next move?
After my first year was when they swept house. That was when Epstein became president of baseball operations. Literally every single person that was responsible with me being there was gone.
Wow.
Was gone. So I didn't even have anybody there anymore that could say this is what, it was just all gone.
Nobody had seen you win.
No. So
now
all
they're
they
sitting
knew, all
there
they knew was the bad
with your numbers that didn't matter earlier, and now nobody there
And
even to go to bat for you.
Nope.
Pun intended.
Sabotage.
Politics. Politics.
Look, a lot of it. That sounds bad. I'm not trying to throw all, but there's a lot of things that I feel like a lot of guys know going in that I didn't know, and I didn't have anybody to tell me. I had
Exactly, and that's what I always felt like that Hayden was taking it. And I don't mean to speak for you.
Alan's been bragging and saying this is going to be his platform.
No, and I'll shut up if you need me to, because it really infuriates me because of hearing your dad and mom talk about it and how brokenhearted they were over it. That you were freaking railroaded, basically. It wasn't your fault that you had mono.
Yeah, I couldn't control that.
Then you got bad advice. Then you did have an agent that cared, and then you switched agents, thinking maybe that was the right decision. Somebody that was maybe a little bigger.
Yeah, well, I went to a guy that was from Arkansas.
Yeah,
a guy that's based out of Arkansas. Usually, if you're a guy that comes out of Arkansas, you usually sign with this guy. But looking back, he didn't know about me in the first place. I probably shouldn't have been with him.
Exactly, because he never wanted to talk to you in the first place, right?
That's another lesson learned.
Right,
but,
so it's just like, and there was nobody there just to guide you at each step of the way. Like, look, did this guy even talk to you? Did he ever call you? Even so, but he said you should be with. So you're already down here on his call list.
Yeah,
and God, it seemed like I'm sure you long for the day of you wish you had that agent back.
Yeah,
that first agent.
Yeah,
and that's what's infuriating, and what people, there's so many rumors that got started and why it fell apart, and I heard the homesick and all of this stuff. But I just thought the being away from home that you would be, it's the fact that people think that because we talk with a Southern accent, number one, that we're stupid.
Yeah.
But when you're in an environment, we naturally, I think also our culture in the South is that we trust each other.
Yeah.
We're a little bit more trusting. And there it's cutthroat.
Absolutely. Cutthroat. Well, you think
here we give people the benefit of the doubt. Really, I mean, we always. Always.
And when you think about it on a bigger scale, it's you're in the same organization, but at the end of the day, there's 5 starting pitching jobs on one team, and all 250 pitchers that are in that organization are trying to get one of those 5 jobs. So to try to be friends with the other pitchers in the organization,
right?
That's dumb, because they're gonna try to railroad you as much as they can. You know, if they can get in your head. So that was a mistake. Not a mistake. That was a lesson I had to learn really early on. That, especially from having played out at SAU, where everybody was.
I mean, you come up in the land where your team is like a brotherhood. You take care of each other.
Found out real quick that's not the way it is.
Right.
After you found that hairline fracture in the elbow, did you go get it fixed, let it heal?
There's nothing you can do for it. Yeah, you have to just let it heal.
You healed, and then you started pitching again, and that's when you got up to 96 after that?
There was nothing I could do. Now, it stopped hurting. It was still there, obviously, but
what's the difference between a hairline and a semi-fracture?
Okay,
stress fracture.
On the MRI, it looked like this UCL ligament was torn. So when I went and got a second opinion from Dr. Andrews down in wherever he is, I forget, Pensacola, Dr. Andrews, the knee doctor.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Anyway, that guy. He said that it wasn't a torn UCL, but it was a stress fracture. And he gave me something like a bone regrowth machine. I don't know what it was, but it was kind of like a souped up
massager.
No,
was it a sonic deal that they put on it?
Ultrasound. It was like
That's what I had on my back.
There's some kind of sonic bone thing, because I just had neck surgery and I got a
TENS unit.
No, some kind of sound deal. It makes your bone grow faster.
It was something like that.
What was the movie with the kid that messed his arm up?
Rookie
and he
of the
could throw? So it didn't do that. It didn't have that effect on you.
No.
That was a great movie. He also played for the Cubs.
Yeah, he did.
He did. And I love Angels on that film. But anyway, I digress.
That's a good movie too.
I like the Rookie.
Yeah,
the Rookie would be cool.
Yeah.
And you still could pull off the Rookie.
With Dennis Quaid.
You still have
You ever
time.
seen that
He was
movie?
30.
Do I have to keep
He
waiting?
was 38.
Or,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do I have to wait till I get older?
No, you do it
No.
next year. We're going to put you on the Chase training program. You think you train?
Look at this fool right here.
Who would, as for pitcher wise, who did you idolize growing up?
Pitchers?
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know if there was one.
You didn't idolize
No, see, I didn't.
Nolan Ryan?
Well, I didn't even start pitching until I was
16.
a sophomore in high school. Like Chipper Jones was
What was your
shortstop.
Shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I actually went to college to do both. I got recruited to do both, and I quit playing shortstop and quit hitting after my freshman year in college because I knew if I was going to have a chance, it was going to be on the mound.
Did you play summer ball and stuff during high school? Did you play at the boys' club a good bit, or was it American Legion ball?
It was in high school. It was Legion. I think I quit playing boys' club after I think it was like 12. We started playing USSSA ball.
They did some travel off the travel ball.
When I started doing that, like there was only 6 teams in the whole state. They were our age.
Wow.
So it was really early on in that.
Did you ever do the big travel ball, like where you had to actually go to other states and you did the big stuff?
Yeah. We were 13. I think we finished 6th in the World Series. There was like 113 teams there or something.
Golly, you were legit. We sucked.
I do have a question. We were just talking about earlier when you said that the new organization was coming along. They cleaned out everybody that knew you, knew your background, and had been giving you all this bad advice anyway. They come in. What are their impressions of you, and how are you mingling with them? I mean, how's that all working out?
They hated me from day one. And when I say they cleaned house, it was with the players too. Like everybody that they hadn't drafted, they pretty much got rid of. Javier Baez and Matt Caesar and one other that I can't remember his name right now at the moment. Those were the only 2 guys from the former regime that they even kept around. And that was just what it was. It's hard not to be bitter, but I mean, you think about it, it's a business at the end of the day. And that was kind of the lesson learned. You know, that's what I tell guys all the time, especially guys that get a chance to play pro ball from SAU, like David Harris, he's still playing, and a couple other ones. It's you do what you do, and you know if somebody tries to change it, if it didn't, that's not what got you there, don't do it. It's one of those things. Like nobody was there to tell me that. I wish somebody would have been, but there wasn't really. So
have you helped some of those guys? I mean, have they called you? And
that's what made me know that I want to coach, that I want to get into coaching. Is that whole aspect of it, and it's just one of those things.
Now, what kind of ways? I mean, you obviously said that the new regime was not your biggest fan.
No.
So how did they treat you? And
well, there was a whole lot of non-communication, a little bit more of non-communication, and a little bit more of the same. The last spring training I was there, they wouldn't talk to me. I would try to ask some of the pitching coaches some questions. I would get ignored or get brushed off, more or less get waved at to go on somewhere else.
Now, is this still because you were part of the old
who knows?
guard at this point?
Who knows? I think they had already made up their mind that they were going to, and I knew that. So every day I showed up spring, it was hard to go back up there every single day knowing these people don't want me here.
Yeah, and finding the motivation to actually
how can I make myself even go out here and want to play knowing that it won't matter what I do. So that sucked.
How did you do that? I mean, how'd you put what? You know what else to do?
Well,
you just did what you did.
I mean, I really don't know. Thinking back on it now, I don't know if it was more for like my own pride or thinking maybe since I already know what they're going to do, maybe if I do well enough, one of these other teams, and had my numbers been better, they probably would have. Because I had gotten my velo back. I was pitching well again. Like the day before they released me, I think I threw 2 innings and struck out 4 of the 6 batters that I faced. So I came in the next day that they released me, I had no idea what to expect. I mean, wow. I was pumped about it.
Yeah.
I thought I'd finally, maybe they'll realize that
They call you in and say, hey, we were going to talk to you.
What they said, and they said, we got some bad news. At that point in time, I was blown away. Now, had it happened earlier, I probably wouldn't have been.
But
as much.
now you feel like you're getting in a groove. Hey, I'm showing them something. I struck out 4 out of 6.
Well, the only thing that I regretted from all of it is I wish that if they knew they were going to do it to begin with, they would have done it before spring training ever happened. So I could have gotten with another team. But the time they did it ensured that it would be at least a little while before another team would even want to sign somebody new.
And
because they were finalizing all their rosters for all the teams they were sending out. And 2 days before spring training.
I'm sure it's kind of a strategy for their part.
Absolutely.
You know, if they don't want you, they don't want anybody else to have you.
They don't want to be wrong.
Right.
You know, so.
And make them look bad that they made some stupid mistake. So they intentionally, that's kind of what I was trying to get to, I think, and what Chase was alluding to is the fact that, to me, and I'm a little bitter at the Cubs because I could care less about them. I'm a Rangers fan.
Yeah.
I really kind of hate the Cubs, but I feel like they railroaded you they ruined your career because it started with mono, and then you had an agent that sucked. It wasn't your fault. I mean, you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And because at this point, I mean, he should have saw the writing on the wall and been doing his job. Right? I mean, it's not like he didn't have the contacts.
Yeah.
Right?
He hadn't, I think to his credit, to his own benefit, he hadn't seen it either. So he didn't know if what I was telling him was actually true. The other guy would have been there to have seen it, but he didn't. So, I mean, to be fair to him, who knows? I mean, I can't say that he wasn't doing what I was trying to get him to do or telling him to do, or he might have been, and it just might have just been falling on deaf ears because of everything else they were doing. And I don't think he tried too hard afterward to try to get me signed on with another team either. Like it should have been. You would have thought it would have been easy to. I mean, at least. But then again, that goes back to the whole numbers thing. You know, all they really have to go off of is the numbers. If the numbers aren't good, nobody else is going to take a chance on them.
Forever they were telling you they don't matter.
It doesn't
Just
matter.
need to get the velo up.
Doesn't matter.
Just telling him what he wants to hear, but telling people other things.
Well, they're stacking the deck against it.
But still, that's how you stack the deck. It's about it. You tell them what you want them to hear, and
that's what I feel like is railroaded.
Yeah.
You know, it's all we care about is your velocity. They knock you all over the place. You say, okay, I got my velocity up, and they say, yeah, but your numbers suck.
Yeah, well,
what the crap?
It was after.
What can you do?
It was after I'd already shown that I was going to pitch, and I was going to pitch well when they were just leaving me alone. Is that they said, we don't care if your numbers are good, which is I was just pitching. We don't care if your numbers are good. We just want to see your velo get good. So that's when they started taking pitches away from me. Started not letting me throw this pitch. So
I do have a question here. Were you hearing about? You said Cubs organization at that point was.
It was one of the worst.
In my words, garbage.
Yeah.
All right. Were you hearing about any other people that were drafted similar to you, or were they experiencing some of the similar things, being handcuffed and told to do this wrong?
Well, I think the situation was so unique, and that I don't think so. I know that our second rounder that year was he was our catcher, Micah Gibbs. He's from LSU. I know that he was pretty much gone about the same time I was. Who really knows? I mean, to be fair to them, at the business side of it all, I know that I'm just one person. I mean, the turnover rate in that is so high. It's each draft a new guy. You got new guys coming in every year. So, but at the same time, if you're gonna, I don't know. My whole thing is if you're gonna take a guy that high, you should at least put the time in to make the investment worth your time. But
exactly,
those guys that drafted me weren't the ones that were there anymore. So they had nothing invested in me.
And then in the media, it's your fault, correct?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
And what was some of the things that you heard in the media for why you didn't work out? What was their opinion? The sports writers and
just
all
about
those.
anything you
the
can come
Earl
up with.
Gills out there. But Earl wouldn't have done that. Earl would have got to the bottom of it.
Yeah. the Earl, the real deal.
I've tried hard to push all that out of the back of my mind because
I'm
really,
sorry.
No,
you don't have to talk
it's
about
not.
it if you want.
It's not. I'm trying to think of just one example, but it's
Stop trying to get him to lay on the chase lounge.
Anything they can, anything they can come up with, I think they were coming up with, and it's who knows.
But I read an article. I'm trying to find, and the thing was, and you'd probably read it. It was only written just a few years ago, and I gotta try to find it. But maybe y'all can Google it. It was written by a guy from the Tribune, if I'm not mistaken, and there was something interesting about your draft class that you weren't the only casualty. There was some weird and I don't know if you know anything about any of this, but there was some funny business with that draft class. And some had to do with the Cubs, and it may have had to do with some of the other organizations. But you weren't the only one that were set up for. You were basically set up for failure. Now, if you wouldn't have got mine,
yes.
Eventually, yes. That's right.
Yeah.
They had no support for you whatsoever. No. But you were their number. It would be different if you were a 6th round draft pick or a 10th. You were number 1,
16th overall.
Why in the world? So basically, the 6th and some 16th best player in the world.
Yeah, at that time, yes.
Why in the world would they not do everything in their power to not look like idiots? For one thing, right, to the public. But there was a guy that he kind of got on the. He kind of did some investigative reporting, and you weren't the only casualty of that year. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
and that's why I was interested if you were hearing more about that happening.
Well,
but I know you said specifically the Cubs organization was. I mean, compared to others, it was just not.
I don't know if I know the the minor league coordinator at the time was. I really don't know if there's. I can't think of just another player right off the bat, but it eventually seemed like they knew that they were given like a year or two to try to figure things out. And once they knew their time was up there. They were going to try to point the finger at any which way they could to make sure that they could get a job somewhere else with another team.
That was what he was referring to.
Yeah.
It was almost that like they were willing to sacrifice a bunch of kids, and ruin careers unless y'all stuck.
Yeah,
just so because they knew the party was over with some organizations.
Yeah,
and it happened to be those 3 years there. Is that am I off base there?
No, I think that's fair, and I mean that might happen in more places more often. I don't know. Yeah. I mean I wasn't there, but from my experience in the situation where I was at, I almost felt like a sacrificial lamb at times.
I'm glad you said it like that because that's the thing. That the reason how I found the story is you're in the story. Now this is just a few years ago, and it was basically talking about. Didn't call you a sacrificial lamb, but it named more than just you.
Yeah,
and I don't know if heads rolled. For that deal, there were some people fired in the organization, but it was as if they could care less who they were. Now, you had the talent, who they drafted. Once they drafted you, fine. They didn't care what happened to you after that because they were looking to reposition themselves.
Yeah,
and either I don't understand, and I thought maybe you might know more about the why behind it. And it's more complicated than my little pea brain can comprehend. This guy got to the bottom of it, but he's a baseball reporter. But there is some rabid fans in Chicago.
Yeah.
And knowing that you went to the Cubs and knowing now that you were set up for failure, as I'm promoting this podcast, I specifically set our podcast up to promote our fan base and specifically Chicago, Illinois, Chicago Cubs fans, Chicago Cubs, Chicago Tribune, the whole deal, simply because people need to know It wasn't your fault.
No, I was doing everything I could.
And you were not the only ones. And what they need to do is look back on their organization, and before they start writing stories about how that's what you get if you pick some guy from some college in South Arkansas. What do you expect to get? That's the kind of stuff that pisses me off because that is not fair. You were a talented kid.
No, that's not fair. It's funny you speak about that because the guy they brought in to be the minor league pitching coordinator was Derek Johnson. He's from Vanderbilt. He had a lot of experience with guys. Sonny Gray, right now, he's in the big leagues. He's pitched tonight for New York Yankees. Built just like I am. Like he came in there, and from the time he got there that last year, I couldn't talk to him. I tried to get next to him to talk to him, and he would literally see me coming and go the other direction. Or if he did talk to me, he would whisper a couple words and then go. It was almost like he was told to not help and to not help him whatsoever. And that's true, and I wouldn't make that up. That's honestly the way it felt from the first day. The funny thing about it is I say everybody, but they try to attack me with it like I was the one that chose that. They were the ones that chose me. As it turns out, I would have just rather gone in the 30th or 40th round. Nobody knew who the crap I was.
Yeah, right.
I would have been, at least if everything was going to go bad, there was going to be some, but as it turns out,
when you got an organization, like you said, with those kind of rabid fans, and, it's Chicago, where a lot of rabid people.
It could have been, it should have been the best place in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have gotten there, moved up quick, I would have been able to do everything to shut everybody up, but as it turns out, I couldn't.
Did the Cubs ever just tell you why they picked you over everybody? Did they sit down and talk to you, or was it just a fly by the seat of their pants? That's
a good question. No, not. I mean, of course, I never asked like that.
That would I guess that's me. That is me. If I would have got drafted in the first round, I would have immediately said, "What did I do to get here?"
Well, I mean,
it makes you want to think.
But then again, as you spend all that time working and everything else, like when it happens, what they never did. I feel they never did their part to make me feel like I belonged. From the very beginning, it was almost.
Well, why would they draft you?
Well, I don't know.
I got to find the article, and did you find it? We did find the article. All right, so this article was written by the Phil Rogers at the Chicago Tribune, and this is an article that you said you pretty much read everything that you thought had your name in it, and this was written just a few years ago, 2013. And it kind of uncovers, in his estimation, what really happened to you, really it had to do. It wasn't just the
mono. It was that would just played into that would just happen to be the cherry on top that I think they used. It all boils down to money every single time. People trying to cover their rear ends, like
just a pawn that got sacrificed,
right? And what really upsets us because it really feels like that you got railroaded. So this guy writes about this, and it says if Florida Gulf Coast Chris Sale had dropped to the 15th spot, the Cubs would have selected him. But after the White Sox claimed Sale at number 12, the Cubs selected Simpson, who had agreed to a pre-draft deal.
All right, now did you even have a pre-draft deal?
No. Not that I was aware of.
Because you had talked with your agent. The only thing you knew beforehand was that if this happens in the first round.
He called earlier that day and had asked if the Cubs took you in the first, would you sign for slot? And I said, absolutely. Of
slot
course.
Being what you would typically get at that
pick. Yes.
That's
average. Like the standard pay is for that pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
What standard signing bonus?
Did your agent get any of that signing bonus too? He didn't get none of it. Okay.
No.
Good.
No.
That strike you as odd?
Well, had I stayed with him, he was that it's a whole nother part of that. Had I stayed with the agent that I was with the company he was with, they tried to get their cut of whatever it was. But this new agent that I was with, since this guy was suspended and he had left, I legally didn't owe them any money from that signing bonus.
Okay.
Now, should I anyway, I probably should have, maybe. I don't know. I've had a lot of time to think about it, the right thing to do. But after hearing this, maybe I'm a little more okay with not having given them any.
But there was no pre-draft deal like is suggested in the article.
Not like
all
it's
right.
suggested in the article.
So what else do they imply in the article here?
Well, and then they go on. It says among the prospects selected after Simpson was the Braves, Simmons, Tigers, Drew Smiley, and Nick Castellanos, Marlins, Christian Yelich, Giants Gary Brown, Mariners Walker, Rangers Mike Olt, Dodgers Zach Lee, who, and it brings up this point, which is another just knife in your back. It says the Dodgers Zach Lee, whose signing cost more than the entire Cubs draft for 2010, and the Astros Mike Folty knew Wichita something. I don't know.
Now, how much was the whole draft class in 2010?
It breaks it down. It says that the Cubs spent $4.7 million on their signings
in 50 rounds
in 2010. 50 rounds of draft picks.
That's $94,000 a person on average.
$4.7 million.
Yeah,
Right.
4% divided by 50 is
And people are getting that in one swipe, and they're getting.
I'm sure there's guys that laughed at that kind of money.
Yeah.
Right. Which it ranked 20th in the majors. They spent. Here's another one. They spent the Cubs between 2008 and 10. So 8, 9, and 10.
That's 150 drafts.
150 draft choices. They spend a whopping total of $14.3 million.
Wow.
Sounds strangely like someone was trying to save money for
Save
something.
money and stack the deck.
I mean, left the cupboard bare for Epstein, it says.
Yeah, that was.
So to me, you had more going against you than just mononucleosis.
Yeah.
You were part of a restructuring process that would just.
which took 6 years to build because they won the World Series last year.
Right.
4 years.
You had already got your velocity back.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't even matter. So
No,
everybody knows that. So those of you out there that believe the mono story, you're exactly right. He did have mono. For those of you out there that thought there was some other issues, well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
The thing is, and what Hayden is also learning more about is the fact that he already had the odds stacked against him before he even signed. They had intentions of signing a bunch of people low pay in order to get ready to rebuild, and you
got caught up in
that and got blamed for it, because if you're a fan of the Cubs, they're blaming what's wrong with this boy.
Well, the mono gave you you were the scapegoat because you weren't the one that was there every day because you're trying to recover.
Yeah.
So you were an easy face to put on or an easy question mark to make.
Yeah.
That's an easy scapegoat. But the whole money situation was from the beginning.
Ever since we found that article, it just made me sick to my stomach, and I've wanted to talk to you about that and find out because I assumed you knew about that you really got caught up in a money deal, and you got caught up in a restructuring.
Yeah.
And you just happened to have mono, but you worked through it.
Even hypothetically, if he would have never had mono, same situation.
Odds totally stacked against him.
Odds they would have still told him you can't pitch. They
always took him out with 4 2/3 innings.
You were saying something about that a while ago. What now that us reading this and stuff, some of these things you said started making more sense to you. You said that you were taking out.
Yeah, well, early on.
Well, it's got the record in there. Mention the record in the article.
You read off the stats earlier. And as hard as they are to listen to, they are true and they are what they are.
Yeah, 5-17. You left the Cubs like you wanted to leave. 5-17 record, a 6.42 ERA, with only 161 in the third innings.
And you would say those stats are a little bit skewed because of the situation.
Well, yeah, it's to start a game, and pitcher of record goes 5 innings. So I don't remember if the pitch count was 70 or if it was 75, but in multiple occasions being pulled out of games with just 1 out left to go 5 complete innings with an 8-9 run lead, and the pitcher that comes in behind me gets the win for those. And he ended up being an all-star, and he ended up making it to the big leagues for a little while, and he was a good pitcher. Nothing against him. I've never blamed him for that.
But you greased the wheels for him along the way there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't his fault.
Well, no, it wasn't his fault.
Right, yeah, that's what you're saying. You don't blame him.
But with 1 out,
with 1 out and with, it just, a lot of it never made sense.
Who was the manager?
Part of that team mentality that you learned back at SAU, did that have something to do with that? Like, hey, you're helping this guy out.
You had to realize real quick that didn't exist.
Yeah, right.
That wasn't the way things were.
But are you saying that now looking back on it, or
no?
When you're in the moment you felt it happen?
Yeah, I figured it out then after I had already tried to build relationships with these guys. Well, actually, in the end, those aren't the guys that you need to be trying to build relationships with. And that sounds bad, and some people are going to take it the wrong way. But I'm not saying that you intentionally do things to hurt those other players, but it happens. If somebody fails or does worse and it makes you look better, that's the way things go. And
several man for himself at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of those stats came from when they were still allowing me to start in rookie ball. When they just wanted me to get my velo back, I was literally throwing nothing but fastballs. Only fastballs.
What was your favorite pitch?
Well, it was fastballs at one point in time.
Have you ever, what's that called? Blaze the tire?
Buzz the tire.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah, well, intentionally, yes, and unintentionally. It's a funny story how it came about. My freshman year, we were playing, I don't remember, maybe West Alabama, maybe they had an All-American that was hitting 2 or 3 in their lineup. And the first time he came to the plate, I think I hit him in the hand or something, broke his hand.
Oh, wow.
Well, it sounds bad, but it broke his hand. He didn't play the rest of the game and ended up, at the end it was a record. It was like 15 strikeouts in a game. So then from there on out, in the first inning, whoever was the hottest hitter in their lineup, I threw one as hard as I could, as close to his head as I could. I mean,
just a routine.
If you can win the mental game,
superstition
from the very beginning, you can win it all, and that's the mentality I never had playing with Chicago.
94 miles an hour coming at your head, it's gonna scare somebody.
Yeah, and if the first one didn't get it done, the second one it was going to get it done.
Man,
love it.
I'm not
that's a strategy.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Lord, anybody ever hit a home run off of you? Somebody's getting popped with it.
Oh yeah. Well, a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was just that was the type of player I was. Stepping in between the lines, that's just, I don't know. Maybe it was football mentality. I don't know what it was. But if somebody got a hit, it was the luckiest swing they'd ever had. And I'd walk as close to the base they were on and tell them that. In not so many words. And not so nicely.
And just that swagger, there wasn't no room for it there. It just never.
We talked about it earlier, confidence being that much of it. But when you're pitching, you don't get new pitches every time you go out. You're not changing anything. So however you can get an edge, that's how you get it. And I feel like that's the main thing that I never had in pro ball. They did a really good job of taking that away from me. And when I say taking that away from me, it's a coach doesn't have everything to do with it, but it has that sense of, we'll let you go out there and do your thing. Be you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the buzzing the tower and the jawing back and forth, did you ever give up, like for instance, give up a homer and then somebody bat flipped you or took a peek at it or anything like that.
Kind of pimped
Oh,
it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I know it. I know it happened in pro ball several times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean there were some that I even turned around and watched. They were hit so far. I mean, it's just true. But
Well, when you were throwing 94-mile-an-hour batting practice, you were going to see some bombs, huh?
well, I wasn't throwing 94 then.
Okay.
It was still my velo. It was still way down.
Yeah.
But even when I was throwing that hard, ball comes in there hard. Sometimes it leaves even harder.
What was? Do you remember the furthest one you ever saw?
The furthest one I ever saw, luckily, it wasn't off of me. Luckily, Michael Choice. You know who Michael Choice is? He played for the Rangers for a while. Trying to think of the college he played at. Anyway, maybe it was UT Arlington.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, our home field in Peoria, it had a very old, paint building behind it. And in between, they would have this giant bounce house set up. And it was 410 to center field. 410 is about a 15-foot fence. This bounce house and this paint building. Michael Choice hit one that one-hopped and hit about 15 feet up that wall. It hung in there for at least 20 seconds. That was the furthest one I've ever seen hit.
My goodness.
What was your favorite memory of of making it to that level?
It, honestly, as everything turned out, it may have been the travel part of it.
Yeah.
Getting to go to these different parts of the country that I probably never would have been able to go to. Like the Northwest up in Oregon and Washington. And I actually lived in Boise, Idaho for several months. And I loved it up there.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. And Bill Buckner was our hitting coach.
Oh,
Dang.
oh man, that's pretty
I love
neat.
that guy.
Yeah. Golly. Did you ever ask him about?
I talk to him all the time.
Did you ever ask him about the between the legs?
About him missing.
I was watching that
that's
game.
the Red Sox?
That's how old I.
Kind of one of those taboo questions you don't ask him.
That was the curse, the big curse.
Well, you're old enough to probably watch that.
But he's
game.
the
I
kind of
watched
guy,
it.
if you would have asked him, he would have answered it honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was a great dude. He's kind of a space cadet sometimes.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Played first base for the Red Sox.
Yeah. I just remember
Hall
that
of
ball
Famer.
dribbling between his legs. That's like
A routine grounder.
and it would have been over.
Our manager got kicked out of a game one time, and I guess he had never been acting manager. So our pitching coach was sitting in there and said, "Hey, Bill, we need to make a pitching change." Without ever calling time, without ever doing anything, he just stepped out of the dugout and just walked out to the mound.
Yeah.
The players in the dugout had to call time because he just started walling out there. I'm like, "Bill, what are you doing? You got to call time." He's like, "Well, I've never done it before. I don't know." You mean they aren't paying attention? Like, he's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Earlier tonight, we talked about you going to college and everything. You finally graduated. And you're fixing to be a coach or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to graduate school. Yeah, so I can coach in college.
So I guess you still love the game then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never lost the love of the game.
No. Well, I did for a while. It got hard to like the game for a while just because it turned into one of those things that I always loved it, and it was always something that it was easy to play, but I enjoyed the training and the workout and all that aspect of it. Well, it got to where I did it every day all year. Like I never took any time off, never did anything because I was trying to get back to where I was. So just when it came time to roll out there and play, it just wasn't exciting. It wasn't, I didn't have that feeling. So once I kind of took some time away from it to come back and to kind of realize all of the stuff, I'm not bitter about anything anymore. Not really.
Good.
And
good.
So I enjoy that part of it. Like
kind of ready to give back now.
Yeah.
Now, if there's one thing you can kind of tell the Chicago Cub fans out there, what would be kind of that? I mean, we've already established that you got caught up in this ring of I think, whatever you want to call it. I'm not even going to say it's Moneyball at this point. I don't know what you.
Well, I think they have been down. It's such that franchise and that fan base. They're all the time. They're gung ho. They're about the Cubs. They love the Cubs.
I have a lot of family that they always like the Cubs, and like my uncle, for example, whenever they were in the World Series, he's like, "Man, I don't even know what to think." It's just part of me wants them to lose so I can feel like I know what's going on.
Right. And I pull for the Cubs even now. I have several guys that I played with that are on that big league team. Like I don't want them to do bad.
Right.
I want them to win. It's not, but
you being up there and you like, jokingly said you were as hated as the Bartman fella, which I know is impossible.
That's probably not true.
But what would you like to tell some of those people?
I think that first of all, they never got to see me. They never got to see who I actually was as a player. That the pick, it was justified where it was.
That's right.
I really believe that. If I didn't, I would say that. And the last thing is that it's still baseball and football, anything at a professional level is still it's an entertainment business.
Yeah.
So you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have people in positions of power that don't really need to be there. That sometimes people are going to be victims.
Right.
Just because of the way it's structured.
The way it is. The way of business, and it's about
to understand
the almighty dollar.
The person, in my case, for me personally, and that the person that they're talking about the way they were, it could be their son, brother, something like that, to try to be a little bit more.
And I guess my follow-up question to that.
Yeah, you're a real person.
We're not.
Right. Yeah, it hurts. Right. And people forget it, and they think you're these almighty athletes, but you're normal people.
Normal people.
Right. You're just trying to make a living and live out a dream. But I guess my follow-up question to that would be, what would you like to come from this podcast of the people that may know a little bit, like your fans of Magnolia? I mean, just from your.
I think for a long
home.
time, a lot of people haven't, and we've talked about it a lot, but a lot of people haven't really known the whole story, and a lot of people probably may never know the whole story, and that's fine. I don't expect them to. I mean, really, only me and like people that were there, for everything, because even the smallest little thing has a big impact on the way things went down. It's to have these preconceived notions and judgments of what you think for whatever reason. That's fine. You're entitled to that. But try to be a little bit more open-minded to.
Well,
I don't really
give somebody the benefit of the doubt,
right?
Yeah, it's not.
But I'm glad you, after a year of suggesting this and trying to get this podcast off the ground and highlight local heroes and local people that have actually gone and done really interesting, fascinating things and become small town famous. That it gives them a platform, and yours was the standard. I mean, because some of us may not have known. Me, Alan, kind of had a more of an ear to the ground to it, but we didn't know the story.
Yeah,
and we didn't know exactly what we thought. Oh, well, he just got sick, and I mean that happens. But no, there's an underlying the whole system at things so far out of your control.
Well, this is probably my opinion. You've done a very good job of not playing the victim.
Yeah.
Coping with
it. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Because, I mean, you had a lot of obstacles that you were facing, but you did overcome the obstacles that everybody blames on you, on killing your career, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it wasn't your fault. And you're not playing the victim, and then you don't get mad about it. I'm mad at your agent right now, and you still try to.
Alan reading that article earlier, and then that failed video that we tried, he was mad. He was so mad.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm 28.
He's shaking his head right now. Look at that.
I am mad because I feel like I love people from Magnolia, and I love my community. And this is one story that so many people have wrong.
Yeah.
That mono did not kill Hayden Simpson's career.
No.
It put an impediment there, but your career was lined out when
his name showed up on Simpson.
That's right.
His name showed up.
When he ended up being drafted in 2010,
number 6
is when that was the day you signed was the end of that whole deal, because you were caught up in something that you did. There was a whole big machine at work, and that's the thing about being from a small town that sometimes we don't get credit for. of understanding that. But I'm going to tell you, that's deception. You did not know, and you couldn't have found out. And now you take a guy from Chicago, from the Chicago Tribune, doing research. He's the one that has to find it out.
Yeah.
You know, and
at the end of the day, I see it as, a lot of things didn't go the way that we would have hoped they did. And I know that, and I'm aware of it. But I'm still, as far as life's concerned, I'm 28 years old. I still have a lot of life ahead of me. There's a lot of things left to do. This was one part of it. This was one part of it. That's not going to define anything going forward. It may dictate the way that I handle things and interact with people and help people going forward. And there's a lot of guys now that are coming up, and Matt Goodhart's one of them. I talk to him all the time.
There you go.
I try to give him as much advice as I can moving forward, because I wish that somebody would have been there.
Right.
To have helped.
And now you can play that role for other people now.
So it's, I don't like looking at it as if a career and this and that, because if it was meant to be a career, I'd still be doing it.
There you go.
So I just see it as I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it, but I don't feel like the victim at all.
And you never know, coaching and getting to that point.
Well, see, all of this
could give you that passion that maybe being a player couldn't fulfill.
All of this kind of led to that.
Right.
I feel like.
Right. Well, the Lord may have led you down that path. Coaching may have been what He wanted you to do,
and that's the way I choose to look at it. So
it is. I'm always the type of person. I'm an underdog person, and I'm a comeback story person. And just part of me just thinks maybe that you said your velocity's back up. Mm-hmm. You're throwing 96 again, even today. You could go out there and throw a fastball at 96.
I don't know about today.
Okay. But you can get there pretty quick, though.
I mean, my body feels as good as it has in years.
So you're the same shape as you were in at 22 years old, you think?
Possibly.
You could get there pretty quick.
A little bit of time, yeah.
Open work, the Brewers and whoever, I know the Brewers have open workouts and open tryouts, and I'm of the train of thought that you could probably still do it if the time was put in.
That's funny. You're not the first person to ask that, and I don't know. There for a while, I entertained those ideas, but at the same time, the way everything went, I just have to try to look at it like if that was meant to be my path, it would have gone different.
Do you think that when you're 40 years old?
And I hate that his destiny was always out of his control.
Yeah, never had that chance to grab his. But you got to look at somebody like what's his name, Jim Morris, the rookie.
Yeah,
Jim Morris, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and they drafted by. Well, they wound up going up to the farm system, did an open tryout for...
what's the movie with Mark Wahlberg? Invincible?
That's Invincible, yeah. The one with Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid's the rookie.
That's the rookie.
Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Yeah, the Devil Rays picked him up, and he wound up getting a pitch in the big league. You know, he was only there for a couple of seasons, but the dude did it, and he had perspective at that time. I think he was 38, but he had perspective because he's like, this show ain't going to last long. But I'm going to milk it. And he goes around and gives motivational talks. He coaches. Dude, you're only 28. If I was 28 knowing what I know now.
But what were you about to ask? If I wake up one day and regret not trying?
No, I was going to ask, when you're 40 years old and you look back and say, well, should I have, pushed a little harder, that time when I was 25 or 27, 28? What do you think you'll think?
I think if I thought I would regret it then, I would be trying right now.
Sure. Okay.
He's at peace.
There's even more to all of this that nobody knows. And nobody ever will know.
Yeah.
And that's because I don't want them to know.
Absolutely.
And just the way that it's all gone, I just know I'm at peace with it.
Awesome,
if that's the way it is, I'm at peace with it.
And there's a chapter that, he said he's going to grad school here in just a little bit. He may be the next, I don't know what a great coach is in baseball.
Man, if Tony La Russa can make a manager.
Yeah.
He never did play baseball. Tony La Russa never did.
The L.A. Lakers coach,
Phil Jackson.
He was
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley. He played some basketball. His first head coaching job was the L.A. Lakers. He was one of their dang near water boys, and he worked his way up. And he wound up being made head coach, and he learned how to coach basketball by being the head coach.
Are you telling Hayden he needs to go?
What I'm telling him is, you never know what your next step's going to be, and you never know if they have an open tryout in Shreveport, and you go there and say, you know what, I feel pretty good today. I'm in Shreveport. I'm going to go throw some ball. You never know. Because I'm going to tell you, that is what happened to Jeffrey Orr. They had an open tryout. He went to Grambling.
And he had been off. He had been off for a while, so he was really fresh.
Yeah. He went and did it, and he was pimping it.
If you do, go ahead and do it. And if you do make the majors, I'm going to be your agent.
Lord have mercy. You thought you got railroaded. No.
I'll be your water boy.
We'll sign you up.
You be getting sued for your politically correct agent.
You want to see in the podcast now, Jeffrey?
Oh, hang on. Hey, we appreciate you for coming on, man.
Man.
If there's anything anything else you want to tell the listeners or anything, we're glad that you got your story out, because it's something that we knew was out there. We just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And you were the only one that lived it. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to tell people that.
Yeah. How's your mom and dad doing? They doing all right?
Yeah, they're doing good. Yeah. Can't complain.
Definitely appreciate you for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
You enjoyed it. All right. Well, thank you a lot. You want to take us out?
I'm good. Who else wants to do it? Because I really can't remember what to say right now.
All you say is Patreon, STF Amos, and Twitter and Facebook.
Hayden, how can our listeners find you on Facebook and anything if they want to be a fan of yours?
I'll just send you some money.
What's your phone number? Just tell me your phone number. Text me anytime.
I have a Facebook. I don't have a Twitter or an Instagram or anything else. So
staying off the grid.
Yeah, well, you can thank the story you just heard for the reason why I don't have anything.
Well, you know what? Chicago, screw you. So that's all I say.
Oh, my gosh.
No, we have plenty of fans in Chicago, all two of them. But I can tell you what, Chicago Cubs aren't. That organization doesn't listen to us at all.
Even Hayden himself doesn't have that much resentment for him, and you're over there.
Yeah. Me and him, I think I may fly into Chicago, and we're going to rent a helicopter to fly over the field, and we're
Wrigley Field,
and we're going to take it on second base.
You know what you're going to need to rent a darn helicopter to do that? You're going to need money, and the best way to do that is Patreon.
Clever little curveball there.
I brought it all the way back around.
The Segway master.
It's a skill.
So everyone, for $1 a month, you can support Alan in renting a helicopter.
so he can do on second
to
base.
fly to
So
Chicago.
me and Hayden Simpson can get revenge.
It's gonna take several months, but we appreciate it.
Several meaning 1,000 months.
Somebody done text you.
All right. Well, let's get out of here. Hayden, thanks again, man, for being on the show.
Appreciate you guys.
Come back anytime.
I appreciate it.
So, who you picking in the World Series?
I would have said the Astros for
Until they got beat tonight.
Please be right, because I got a lot. Because I'm about to call my bookie as soon as you tell me.
I'm still sticking with the Stros and the Dodgers. That's
I would
who pick.
probably pick Los Angeles to win it right now.
To win it all because of Kershaw. He's doing pretty good.
Well, because of all of them.
Kershaw's doing good in their batting. Man.
Sammy? He's going to be like 65 years old.
Sammy.
Clayton. But if the Yankees get there, it'd be hard to bet against
I always
them right
wonder
now.
why he quit music.
But also, you got the Houston Astros.
And Sammy Kershaw can still do it.
My God, Hayden Simpson. I know has it in it.
Hayden was like, who is
true.
Sammy Kershaw? That was like 30 years before he was born.
Houston can win it all.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
can. They got
Yeah.
Justin Verlander, man.
Yeah,
He's number 2 in the.
Yeah.
And we got to go because Leslie said, I just got text said, do not wake the kids up. Which means I've already woken. Oh, man. Hayden, thanks again, brother.
Yes, sir.
Enjoyed it.
See you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.